I've seen Wandering Village everywhere, or at least it feels like that. And I'm not mad about that in the slightest. This city builder, perched upon the back of a lumbering ancient, invokes memories of Discworld stories, or Turtle Islands from various pieces of media. So when I received an email asking if I wanted an early Steam key, I jumped at it. I also mentioned this to a friend of mine, who asked if they could join as well. Once booted, we're immediately met with a lovely picture of the dev team, before hopping into normal mode, where, post-cutscene, the game starts. There's no tutorial in the Wandering Village, at least on the difficulty we selected. We're a little bit confused by this, and caused us to restart once. But there is a large glossary containing every topic imaginable. I'm not going to read that, so thankfully, the UI follows similar setups to most city builders, so we could stumble our way through. We did notice houses don't seem to actually be required, so we set that aside while we figured out how gathering works. Having played a lot of Frostpunk as my last city builder, I expected to have a wood-cutting building of some sort, which does actually appear later. But at the start, I had to quickly check how harvesting actually works. To manage workers, make them specialise.
What are the focuses?
Okay, so there's a lot of reading, but there's a harvest tool somewhere.
At the minute, are we just trying to make...
Harvest tool. So then I drag.
Oh.
Ah, look at that. And it turns out to be a tool in the UI. This is probably more a recency bias thing than any problem, per se. As I seem to remember, this is how it worked in Banished, another game I really enjoyed. After this, we try zooming in and out, and I must say I was impressed. The sleeping creature looks great, as do the people when you zoom all the way in. I also enjoy how the creature, who I can now see is called Onbu, appears as a sort of chess piece on the board. It's also plainly obvious which way it will go. I see that its tiredness is going down, so we'll wake up soon. Awesome! We start out researching, which is one of the things I would highly recommend you do in any city builder. Now, when I think back on it, I probably should have built multiple, like I was trained to in Frostpunk, but oh well, we went with the one. We don't properly look around until later, but the technology tree is large, with multiple branches and paths locked behind some sort of knowledge point system. There's some real meat in there. But we also appreciate the recommendation system, even if it meant I didn't realise the rest of the tree was available until later. Onbu wakes up. Onbu's up. Onbu's up.
Can we watch him walking?
And begins to move. Once again, I am enamoured with this creature as it dozily plods along, which made the next message hit twice as hard. Oh, it's unhappy as it feels its spike being torn out?
Oh no. You're pulling its little... Those things... It doesn't like those things being touched.
Are these?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I see. How do I cancel that then? It seems the rocks we previously thought were fine to mine were actually part of the creature itself. It tells you all of this if you actually bothered clicking on the things, but as we'd just been drag-clicking, we didn't notice. So it seems our trust with Onbu has gone down, and with no apparent indicator anywhere, we assume trust is low. There's an indication for heart rate, however. Not really sure what that's about. We briefly click on everything else to make sure we're not assaulting more parts of Onbu on accident. And we also noticed that Onbu had passed both a feeding and resting point during this stage, and was slightly hungry, so we determined that we would have to build our newly researched communication tower to tell it to eat and sleep. A theory that eventually proved to be wrong, and made me question how symbiotic this relationship actually would be. Fresh food for Onbu.
I guess we would tell him to eat when we have the hornblower.
Yeah, I still don't have the hornblower, so I can't tell him to do anything. Food for Onbu. Go eat your food, Onbu.
I'm not.
Yeah. On whether we're needed at all. We advance up the tech tree while constantly lacking workers. We accept every nomads we find, all of which were healthy, something we don't expect to continue. We're now armed with our communication device. Desperately, we ask Onbu to go towards more nomads, but, his mind plagued by a betrayal, he ignores us. He will, however, run on command. I guess he just likes exercise. Yeah, please get us out of this desert.
Oh my god, watch him run. That's so funny. Whee!
But there's less desert that way.
Oh, Onbu.
Oh, Onbu, please. Not desert.
Maybe if we say the opposite, he will, do the opposite.
Maybe. With more people comes more mouths to feed. So we start up a farm, which has one of the most interesting systems so far. Each type of crop grows better or worse depending on the biome. The biome changes as Onbu walks around and goes from path to path. Also, when you switch, they start planting the new crop immediately in any open plots. It's an interesting system and plays on the Onbu mechanic in a way I appreciate. It also seems like they didn't water the beets when we switched to the cactuses, but that might have just been because we were stuck in the desert and Onbu refused to leave. We're sorry about your rocks, Onbu. Please stop punishing us. Take us out of the desert. Still, a huge employee shortage was occurring so much that we had to shut down most of our buildings. We also notice that the map is more complex than we at first thought. Not only will stuff be on the road for us to gather, but we'll also approach the road. So you can ask Onmu to lay down to wait for things to arrive onto the road, or, in this instance, ask Onbu to run past poison.
Oh, I see. So if Onbu runs, then that won't happen. Right, so this is coming here, but if Onbu runs past it, it won't happen.
Oh, that's good.
And then this, if we'd slept somewhere, then this would have happened.
In an attempt to build back trust with Onbu, we invest in a food catapult, and it is fantastic watching Onbu eat from it.
Oh, he ate it.
I love it. And now Onbu still ignores our directions, but does seem to go the way we want anyway,
Doesn't trust the
which is
command.
good enough.
Go left, please. Yay!
Also, this pinkish colour is mountains, even though it looked poisonous. Maybe a grey would be better, I don't know. During this time, we've been receiving notifications every time Onbu poos, which was finally justified by the fact that we can collect it. Gorgeous. We also started making a outpost, or something like that. I can't remember the word. During this time, we had made a building that allowed us to send workers on expeditions, making more use of the map. Areas on the map we could now send our people to gather items, or knowledge points, or people. Knowledge points, which we talked about before, which locked out the technology can now be researched, and this is how you'd move forward in those trees. It was at this point we called it a day. I can certainly see myself playing this again, probably on a harder difficulty, so it feels more like a desperate struggle than it was. I understand this was fairly early on and we didn't actually encounter any poison, but I feel an added challenge would be much appreciated. At least for me. My friends said they think they would play it again, but would appreciate some sort of goal or quest system to help motivate and guide the early game, which I think is more than reasonable. Ultimately, I really enjoyed my time with Wandering Village, and look forward to any and all refinements in the future of this early access program. And I give this game a gorgeous large boy out of 10. Pick it up if it looks good to you, and maybe I'll try out the Twitch features in the future. Bye-bye.
Get the general gist. We'll stop there.
Was I meant to be recording my face during this time? I don't know.